No, goddamn. Woof. There's the light. No, we good. Okay. What up, Akasan here? So, here with my man. What up?
What's going on? It's Terry.
Do you have a YouTube channel or anything?
I do not. I have a YouTube, but there's nothing on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Terry.
Just some dude.
He's just some dude. Fan of the Red Nation, or a member of the Red Nation that hooked us up. So, let's just start. Let's do what I always do. What we liked, what I didn't like about the movie, and anything critical that pointed out and such.
Apes together, strong.
What did you like about the movie?
I like the emotion.
The emotion?
Yeah. There's a lot of quiet scenes, you know,
Yeah.
and just the emotional acting, even through like a damn CGI ape, you know?
Yeah. I will say, and many times I found myself forgetting that this was almost all done on computer. Basically, the emotions were real,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of stuff that was all done on computer. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting distracted myself. Oh my God. Sorry. Planet of the Apes. Yeah. So there was a lots of emotion there, and we're all burnt out. Like we just had a burger and such. Matt Reeves directing, really good work on this one. Like I hate to admit, and like I was telling him earlier, this is the one thing I don't like about getting that insider knowledge type of stuff, knowing about certain things beforehand, because the entire time watching the movie I'm like, this would make a dope-ass Batman scene. Oh, this guy's gonna knock it down. Like sometimes when Caesar was positioned in a certain way,
yeah,
and then he was with the orange orangutan or whatever,
yes,
I'm like, dude, that's like Batman and Robin right there.
Yeah.
Like I could see that. Or the waterfall scene.
Yes.
I totally was like, God damn, this is gonna be a perfect bat cave like that.
I was even thinking, when the soldiers were infiltrating,
Yeah.
and you know Caesar's like, you know,
yeah, like the Dark Knight, kind of. Yeah.
There's the scene in the dark where like one of the littler apes, you know, take out a dude. You know,
You're right. There was like that kind of like,
stealthy, like,
dude, Matt Reeves is gonna kick ass with the Batman. I am so glad that they're throwing out the original script that was written. Like they're doing everything from scratch, because from what he said of what he wants to do with the Dark Knight, with the Batman, he wants to make it a mix between the Dark Knight and something else. He said that this is what he's trying to do, and he really said that Caesar and Batman, he sees them like very one and the same, both tragic characters. So I'm down with that, something like that. But getting off the subject here, his scene selections were very beautiful. He was able to encompass the water and the beach a lot, which I thought was very unique towards the fact that this was a kind of an homage to the original series, whole Statue of Liberty, all the whole thing about water, utilizing sand a lot, the emotions in every scene, whether it be sand, forest, or ice. Every scene had a particular different mood and tone to it.
And
a
then
lot.
In the end, when everything got all
messed up.
No, the very end when they reached the promised land.
Okay.
You know, everything was more green and vibrant and lively. Like, we made it, guys. You know.
Totally. It was, and it was something like very much out of a painting. Actually, you and I both comment on it. There's a lot like, this might bother some people, but there was a lot of biblical references and a lot of Jesus Christing of Caesar a lot, but I think that was from the beginning. Like even the second movie started to hint at that a lot. There's a lot of that, like bow down to Caesar and such, and he is the Messiah and people will follow him wherever. And you mentioned earlier there was even tributes to Spartacus a lot, you know, like I am Caesar and all that shit.
Who did that shit, literally?
Yeah, no, there were scenes where it's like, okay, who threw shit at me? You know, it was me. No, it was me, like that. So these points were still really good. And I was very interested in it. I thought it worked very well. Anything else that stuck out strong for the movie? Directing, I thought the music was fine. The acting was, of course, as you mentioned, very good. The acting was very good. I think Woody Harrelson, Woody Harrelson, he did a very good job with the kind of person he was trying to portray. I actually think he did a better job than Gary Oldman's character. Because I felt like Gary Oldman's character in the second movie was a little, like, I felt like Gary Oldman kind of phoned that one in a little bit.
There was not much to work with.
Right,
it was just,
right. But the thing I will mention is that Gary Oldman still phoning in a role is still damn better than people doing their best. But it's just that because I've seen him so much, especially in the Dark Knight trilogy, I just kind of know when Gary Oldman is kind of doing his...
It felt like he was, in the second movie, to some capacity, I guess you can say he was being Jim Gordon.
Exactly. I thought the same thing. And it was just like, okay, they kind of gave him a scene and he's like, okay, I don't have much to work on, so let me just take off my glasses and kind of pretend to cry type of deal. What do you... I thought the characters were really good to know. The thing that stood out very well about this particular one is the duality, or not even the shades of gray. There are a lot of shades of gray. Not everybody was necessarily right or wrong, but at some points you did feel for certain characters, and the villains come toward the end of the movie. If you really think about it, some of the villains, necessarily not their intentions were actually probably the right thing, without spoiling in anything. You were like, God damn, okay, so not every, the methods in which they use were horrible, but they were actually onto something pretty much. So
compromise
it was very interesting. But in those that have seen the movie, you know exactly what we're talking about, and I thought that actually did a really good job in such. Let's move on to what we didn't like. Transition.
Apes together, strong.
All right. So as I just mentioned, all the characters were very interesting, and there was a lot of emotion, and that was conveyed very well. The only thing is, I just felt like the script itself was a bit paper thin in terms of without spoiling it, it's hard to give a good example, so we might have to move on to spoiler zone in a bit. But without spoiling anything, I just felt like there could have been more for this final act. It just seemed like the second movie was much better when it came to the plot development. The first movie was a lot better when it, like, you were always waiting to see, like, damn, I hope they get out of this. Oh, this is very intriguing, when there was a lot of science involved and a lot of research involved. This one, they weren't dealing with any of that anymore. There wasn't really much of any discovery. It was just like, okay, here's the setup, and this is pretty much the plot of why you guys are captured, and the rest of the movie is going to be dedicated to breaking you out of this. So anything for you?
It's the ending for me too. I mean, it just seemed like it wrapped it up in a nice little bow tie, which you can appreciate for. I mean, everyone likes a movie with a happy ending, but I guess it was everything just fell into place like pretty good dominoes. You know, it was a bit too. Yeah, exactly.
No, I agree with you. Like it played out stronger than any sort of comic book movie or MCU movie, but it was just, it had that classic third act of like, okay, we're running out of time here. It's kind of going on a little bit long. Okay, let's just throw in these elements and dun, 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 here we go. And let's get to the original idea that we had for the ending. Now it's time to move on to that. Like, here it is, basically. So I think that was my only complaint about that. And then at the same time, things that unfortunately, the fact that this particular one was focused more on the humans. I'm sorry, it was on the apes. This was a very ape-centric movie. Humans were very taken out of this one, and because of that, it felt like there wasn't a lot that was moving the plot, and that's why sometimes the plot felt kind of dry or slow, because the only person that really was talking in this movie was Caesar. Everybody else was using sign language, and that will take that. It was cool for a while, but then as I noticed, as we got into like hour 2 or the hour and a half gone by, I'm like, okay, we're not really getting like that. The pace is kind of slowing down a bit here, and you can't really get fully invested in these apes, because you know, they're using sign language, and you see their feeling, but this isn't this idea. The plight that they were in isn't anything particularly new, and we see it in a lot of action movies of people getting captured. So that was probably the only thing that kind of dried out a little bit, but it also plays into the main story as well, with the sign language and people not being mute and things like that. So spoiler, let's start moving in. This is your spoiler warning, because at this point we need to in terms for me to say what I didn't like was the way, okay, so this is spoiler warning at this point in time. For the third act, the way the third act wrapped up was kind of like, and the entire plot of with Woody Harrelson's character was like, I need you to build a wall. I'm like, wait, that's it?
I wonder if that was put in on purpose.
No, because of the Trump situation, right? Like, yeah, and that was kind of interesting. Like, there was a very Jesus complex type of deal going on with Caesar, like really laid on thick in the third act when they get to the promised land and such, and which I didn't mind too much. I didn't think that was too bad, but the whole they crucified him on top of that, and he was going to be a martyr and all this other stuff. I didn't mind any of this. It's just that I felt like the whole reason for the rest of the movie after they get captured was they need him to build a wall. But it obviously, even when they told what the plot was, well, people are going to come invade us, and they're sending an entire big military to come attack us. I'm like, what the fuck is a wall gonna do? Like, what was the purpose of this?
For some reason, we're just gonna bunker down and hope that it works.
Right?
I'm just like, I'm thinking about a war of attrition. Like, all they have to do is starve you out, if anything.
But not even that. The thing that was even more odd to me was like, I think you guys have enough men to probably do this shit a lot faster than trying to get these apes to build it. Like, it looks like you guys got more than enough people. You could have done this in a day instead of capturing these dudes. Like, it didn't, a lot of that shit didn't make sense to me. But I did like the twist with the Woody Harrelson's character and stuff. I thought that was pretty dope, instead of, like you were saying, classic drunk villain that's a coward in the end. I thought that was pretty dope. That one I didn't see coming completely. That twist.
He got sick.
Apes together, strong.
I will say that going on to the critical zone and such, I will say that if you're not familiar with the original trilogy or the original movies, this might be a bit, you might be a little bit lost a lot of when they introduce Nora or whatever her name is.
I wouldn't.
Not lost, but I personally feel like you feel like something is missing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you would just feel like that was supposed to be important, I'm sure. You just missed out on it.
Right. But then at the same time, if you're familiar with the original series, I almost felt like a good amount of the movie was already foretelling when she picked up the Nora, the name tag. I'm like, oh, okay, so we know she's surviving this shit like that, you know. There were little things like that which I thought was a little, and then even with the whole thing with the desert, the moment they mentioned the desert in the beginning of the movie, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't
catch that.
So they're gonna make the moment they said desert, I started thinking about Mark Wahlberg in the spaceship, and I was just like, oh shit, okay, so they're gonna make it somehow, some way. Originally, my thought was Caesar and his crew was gonna do like pull a 300 or something, and they were gonna die at that base, but their people were gonna reach there. And when Caesar was having his Mel Gibson,
300
Mel Gibson Braveheart fucking flashbacks while being crucified, I'm like, this dude seriously will probably die, but his last vision will be his son at the promised land, living for him, and Caesar's gonna be like, freedom, and die like that.
You know, I would have wanted something like that, because I feel like I said, everything just fell into place. All they did was escape. Technically, the humans, in some capacity, destroyed themselves. Right. Even if you know, Caesar didn't throw. True. And here's something else too. This is spoilers, right? So So, Big Ape, Donkey Ape, the gorilla, instead of blowing up the one dude why didn't he just shoot the tank and just, you know, call it a day? Like
probably would have blown up Caesar.
Okay, yeah.
Would have. I thought about that too, but then rethinking it, I'm like, well, I mean, it would have blew up Caesar instead.
That was a little Hollywood to me. Like, you could have just aim left, take care of it. But Caesar had to do that final touch.
Yeah, exactly. Caesar needed to be that guy he needed to be that dude. Just being a little critical, I was kind of this whole trait of like old man Logan, like little girl, who is she? Someone will come along, and then watching the trait of an old hero, not as sprung as he used to be, getting whooped, and they're like, you know, I noticed what they're doing, but I hope this is one of the last movies where I'm going to see like some of my favorite guys grow old and not as fast as they used to be, taking all these wounds and arrow shots and arrow to the knees and shit, you know.
Well, get ready for that Infinity War, because, you know, you got you know, someone's gonna be old. We have some
But overall, I mean, nothing in terms of like really editing, nitpicking, like the actual story or the actual movie itself overall was just told really well. It worked very well, and there weren't really any sort of bad points for this movie. There's nitpicky stuff, you know, like plot wise, but I really see this Apes trilogy very similar to the Dark Knight trilogy in terms of like the first one was a little grimier, a little grittier, and started off really fresh, and there were memorable moments of Caesar coming up. The second one to me is still the best. The second one was still the best. I thought that one was the best story, the best idea of duality, and the best things about opposite sides, and a lot of gray matter, and nobody's really right or wrong, and just people just doing what comes natural to them. But the third one was very much like the Dark Knight Rises, and it needs to end. Let's just try to give it the best proper send-off we can, but toward the third act everything kind of just wraps up a little conveniently and such, you know.
But I think it is deserving, you know. I mean,
it's not bad though. It was still not bad, and it was again, I think we've really reached that uncanny valley where you can have these CG actors, these actors being CG'd, and you forget about that. You get lost in that fact. Like, it's only by chance that I happen to be explaining Planet of the Apes today and yesterday and showing what motion capture was to a lot of my students, that in the back of my mind I was imagining people in these gray suits walking around and shit. But like, otherwise, if I had a chance, I really would just want to rewatch all of them. Highly recommend the movie. It was very good. Definitely one of my top movies. I'm sure by the end of the year, personally, I think this will be a little less memorable because there wasn't much to anything super shocking other than what happened with some of the villains and such, but and it didn't really break much of any new ground, which it doesn't really need to have to. I really thought it was dope seeing Caesar and his squad in the beginning. I would actually just love to see more of that. Caesar and his squad goes busting into people's houses with the guns and that was actually pretty goddamn dope, like them walking around with the guns like that.
When my dude was like, wait, I'm just putting the sticks down.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
Boom.
And Caesar just Anthony Serkis was one of the best dudes, and like I could just imagine his face all scrunched up the entire movie, because nobody else portrayed such a Batman-ish damaged character face like he did. It was really done very well. Anything else you want to say about the movie?
No, it's great. It's not often that you get 3 good movies, you know, for a story that completes it out in a pretty good bow tie.
Perhaps maybe they could have tied it in a little bit more to the first movie more, I suppose, because I felt like the first movie and the second movie tied it together very well, because you saw Caesar going back to his house and all that.
With the camera.
But this one kind of was, in a sense, a bit of a standalone a little bit, but I will say they did a great job of, in a way, tying it to Kobo a lot.
Yes. I love that, just being haunted with the fact that it's almost like we were talking about it being similar to The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And how like you're Shane now, you know, like you're,
true. And then, so that point was really good, but and unfortunately though, sometimes that actually kind of made me miss Kobo, an intriguing villain like Kobo. Yeah. Because Woody Harrelson, like I said, like you said, he did the best with what he did, but for some reason the human villains in Planet of the Apes are never really that, like, they don't sit so well. Like,
there's not even one in the first one. I was thinking about it. Like, is it
the scientists, I guess?
Yeah, it's like there was I forget the black guy's name. What the hell was his name? He's in a couple of things. Anyways, the one that was in the helicopter at the end that dropped it. Yeah. You know, like who was the villain? I think it was more or less Caesar's struggles.
Right. Well, that I guess
Where am I? Who's my mom? Where did I come
from? True.
What? You know, like.
I guess you could say it in a sense. That's really what it was. It was more about this is the journey of Caesar instead.
Yes.
This struggle, the entire journey of Caesar, and from the beginning of the first movie where he whispers, "Caesar is home," basically.
His first word was
no, right. The second movie, him establishing his home and all about family and really trying to avoid a war, and then the third one rising from all of that and getting his people to the promised land. So overall, well done. And again, I can't wait for Matt Reeves to pick up the Batman. After seeing this movie, I'm so damn excited. Like, if he can even make it this good in terms of imagery, it's going to be one of the best Batman movies ever. So,
absolutely.
There you go. All right, well, if he has any social links, I'll link them in the description below later. The next big movie will probably be Thor Ragnarok, maybe.
When is that out?
In November, actually. Okay. I can't imagine anything else bigger coming. Like, everything else is just going to be Spider-Man Homecoming. Will come out in Japan. Wonder Woman will come out in Japan.
Right.
After that, it's just not November. Maybe no. I think we're gonna have a break for a little while. Actually.
Yeah. We're getting into that fall season.
Yeah, but it's gonna be a good time for Game of Thrones, The Flash, catch up on everything. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Till next time. I'm out. Peace.